Okay, in this video, what we're going to go ahead and show you is how to use content-aware fill in a complicated movie poster so that you don't pick up all of the extraneous information around the outside edge of where you want to fill. So this is the movie poster that we have one of our students doing, and he's trying to replace Tom Cruise's name right up here. And when we watch the initial videos and we look at the tutorials that are on the class website, they talk about a couple different ways to use either the clone stamp or content-aware fill. If I were to do content-aware fill with this, just the way it is right now, and we always would go ahead and do it on a new layer. So I'll do this, new layer, that one's off, so now my original poster won't be modified. If I just came over to this, and this could actually work, but I'm guessing it's not gonna. I haven't tried it yet. There's his name, and I could come up here now and try to go to content-aware fill. What content-aware fill is going to do is it's going to look around the edge and say, okay, if this wasn't here, what would be there? Unfortunately, one of the things that we have to deal with is here's Tom Cruise's head and the Top Gun logo all sitting right in there. So when I say okay, you see what happened? It picked up some information from down here. So how do I get the content-aware fill tool to work a little bit better? The way that I would do that is this. Instead of making a copy of the full layer, I am going to go ahead instead select an area that's much smaller like this. So I have the sky, but I'm going to stay away from the Top Gun logo and everything else, and I'm going to copy that. Now, if I go and I paste it, it's not going to paste it into this layer. It's going to automatically paste into a new layer. And on this layer, layer 2, I'm going to rename this cover name because that's what I'm going to do here. Now, if I poke the eye out of the original layer, you see now all I have is the name and the sky, right? So if I do that exact same thing that I did before, I find a section where his name is, like this, and I'm doing this really fast. I usually don't use a square or rectangular selection box because it's a very straight, sharp line, and anytime you use a sharp line like that, it's going to be easier to see imperfections. So it's usually better to have kind of a rounded, kind of oblong shape. But you'll see that in a minute. So now we'll go to Edit, Fill, Content-Aware Fill, but this time, remember that information down here it picked up? It can't because we didn't allow it to see it. So it can only look at the information that's around here. So therefore, look at what happened. It's a much better selection. Now if we go in, you can see right down here, it was darker. See how dark it is? And you can almost see right up here the line from where I selected. Now I can fix some of those things using another tool that we talked about on the website, which is the clone stamp tool. So if I take my clone stamp tool, I could go ahead and fill it up with something that's similar in that area, like let's say right about right here. So I'll do an Alt, and I'll just come down there and break up that line. So see that line kind of disappears now. And as far as this darkness down here on the bottom, there's another tool you can use called the Burn tool. Burn makes things darker and Dodge makes things lighter. So if I go to the Burn tool, I can take this section at the bottom and I'm going to turn this way down so it goes really slow. Let's see, it looks like this whole area needs to be a little darker, and I'll just start to darken it up a little bit like this and fade it in. This area over here needs to be a little lighter. See how it's too dark right there? So we can go to the opposite thing. We can dodge it. Same thing, turn it down so it goes really slow. See how it's lightening that part up. If I put this poster back up, you can see what it has done. Now, the burn and dodge didn't work the way I wanted because it started to darken up an area over here that I didn't want darkened. Okay? So I would probably go back in the history on this and take my burn and dodge tool off, see I stopped just in time. Put this back on, see what I have. Oops. It's not too bad. I might clean that part up, and I might clean that up by just enlarging this name cover by pulling this down slightly. This might be the easier way to do it. So if I pull this down like that, we'll get right down in there like that, and then I can take another selection and just cut that part off. Let's see. Delete. Okay, so see, that cleans it up a little bit better. So now I have covered up Tom Cruise's name, but if I take the opacity of this down, that's the sky that I just recreated, and I bring the opacity down, see Tom Cruise's name is still there underneath it in the original layer. And now I can go ahead and get my type tool and try to recreate Tom Cruise. I don't type my own name because I want to be able to match it as close as I can. Once I match it as close as I can, then I can just change the letters into my name. Okay, but it's much easier to match when you're using the same letters, okay? So that's a quick, kind of complicated video on how to go ahead and cover up a name. Okay? Very good.